And I think, as I remember in Washington when I was there in the 90s and worked with President Clinton and Speaker Gingrich to address the debt at that time, which was $4.8 trillion, it was the bipartisanship of the President and the Speaker to sit down together and put the country's interests first. Tip O'Neill used to sit down with Ronald Reagan. George Mitchell sat down with Bob Dole. We don't have the kind of leadership today, or the maturity in leadership, to have people recognize that they're going to have honest and genuine disagreements, but they have to, at the end of the day, work together and put the country's interests first. It's been done in the past. It needs to be done in the future. And that's why I think it was important to work with Rick in this campaign to put my money where my mouth is and say, yeah, there's a lot of tough decisions you're going to have to make, but I'm going to sign on the bottom line with you and tell you that I'm in it with you. We're going to have to slow down the growth of entitlements. We're going to have to look at revenues. We're going to need to put a package together that has everything on the table. And we're going to have to get the main citizens and the American public to recognize how important this issue is. Our debt now is $14 trillion. It represents $600 billion a year in interest payments. We spend $1 trillion a year in defense and $1 trillion a year in health and education. It won't be long before the interest payments suffocate the payments that we need to make for our national security and our economic security.
History and human nature has shown that the leadership will not originate in Washington. It must come from each of us and all of you. I'm very pleased to work with Governor Baldacci on this initiative because with regard to the national debt, the stakes are simply too high for this conversation to be lost in the mud of partisan politics. Our elected officials in Washington must be empowered and enabled by us to end the culture of careerism that has captured them and consider the long-term damage that continued fiscal mismanagement is doing to our country. And we as Mainers, regardless of our political affiliation, can come together to say to our elected officials, who are a unique cast of character themselves, in a coherent voice, this must stop now. We must find a solution now. It is going to take leadership from all of us in this room to get the job done. Thank you very much.